Hi, it's day 2 of week 1 of 52 weeks of vlogging every day, and it's really late. It's like after 11, but it's still today, so it still counts. And so yeah, this week we're going to talk about guns. First, I gotta tell you that guns freak me out. I have never owned a gun. I have never fired a gun. I have never even touched a gun. To my knowledge, I've never been in the same room as a loaded gun. In fact, the only gun I've ever been in the same room as has either been on display in a museum or the antique revolver that my grandpa had when he was in the cavalry like a million years ago, and it wasn't even loaded. And I still didn't even want to get closer than like across the room from it. Guns make me feel all fluttery and tight inside, and not in a good way, but in the holy shit, I'm scared to death kind of way. But not everybody has to feel that way, and that's okay. Lots of people feel differently from me about guns, and that's totally cool, as long as they're willing to talk calmly and rationally about it. That's what I don't like. It's the not calm and not rational talking. The shouting and the threatening and the name calling and whatnot. That's not nice. Don't do that. Especially not in my comments. Me, guns, eh. Others, guns, maybe fine. Having said that, there are definitely these days, especially these days, some issues we're having with guns in America. So let's talk about that. I've been wanting to have this conversation for a while, actually, and what triggered it most recently was the mass shooting in Newtown. But before that, there was Columbine, there was Aurora, there was Portland, a high school in Kentucky, there was a whole lot of stuff. And most recently, today, there was a shooting at a college campus in Texas. And on Saturday, there was a mass shooting in Albuquerque, New Mexico. So yeah, I think we might have a problem with guns, maybe, possibly. I don't want to be disrespectful. I don't want us to start calling names, and I don't want us to start shouting at people. No calling things like extremists or gun nuts or whack jobs or crazies or anything like that. But I do think we should talk about it, and I think I'd like us to be able to talk about it openly. I'd like us to be able to talk about it honestly. I'd like us to be able to talk about it without being afraid that someone's going to threaten us. And I'd like us to be able to talk about it and maybe even get somewhere. I'm going to get tomorrow into some numbers and statistics, but for today, I just wanted to start the conversation. And I want to start with a Twitter exchange that I had with somebody. It was Gun Appreciation Day, and I tweeted that I had heard of some accidental shootings at gun shows, actually. And someone tweeted back and said, all you've got is 3 accidental shootings, and then they called me a desperate extremist. And I thought, well, I was actually less bothered by being called a desperate extremist than by the implication that 3 accidental shootings wasn't enough. How is an accidental shooting not enough of a reason to talk about gun control and gun safety? How many accidental shootings do you need? Do you need purposeful shooting? Because those happen too. When does it become appropriate to have this conversation? When can we start talking about it without having to be afraid that someone is gonna go nuts and go ballistic on us? When can we talk about it without worrying about being shut down because it's not worth the discussion? I think it's always been worth the discussion, to be honest with you, ever since the first purposeful shooting, ever since the first accidental death, ever since the first kid found a gun in mommy or daddy's bedside table drawer and fired it by mistake and hurt themselves or hurt one of their siblings or one of their friends. This is a conversation that's been needing to happen for a long time, I think. And I find it frustrating and worrisome when people say things that imply that it's not worth having the conversation until something worse happens. When Thomas Jefferson first drafted the Declaration of Independence, he said that we hold certain truths to be self-evident. And one of those truths was that all men are guaranteed the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. When someone innocent, like a child or a bystander, is injured by someone else's behavior with something like a gun, or a car, or anything else for that matter, kind of gets in the way of two of those options for sure. The whole life and pursuit of happiness thing. And I really think it's important that we think about things like gun regulation the way we would think about things like cars. You have to pass tests to drive a car. You have to have certain things in the car, like safety features like seatbelts. You have to use the safety features. And since cars are made for getting us from A to B and guns are made for killing things, I think having certain safety measures in guns is even more important. So let's talk. Remember, no name calling, no threatening, no flaming, preferably no shouting. Keep it clean, keep it respectful, keep it nice, keep it relatively friendly, but definitely, definitely respectful. And I'll see you in the comments. Thanks for listening.